Hey folks, Happy New Year. It is 2024. A whole nother year has come and gone, and 2023 was a wild time. It was a great time, and it felt like it went by like that. I consumed a lot of different media in 2023, and I wanted to share with you some of my favorites. Here is a list in no particular order of my favorite songs, books, TV shows, animes, video games, and movies of 2023, with some added honorable mentions because it was really hard to narrow it down to just 5. Top 5 songs of 2023 in no particular order. Not the 1975 by Nox.
Then she said, I like your confidence, but you're not the 1975.
Not the 1975 by Nox is a song that popped up on my Instagram Reels at some point during the year. I looked him up on Spotify afterwards and just became obsessed with the music. Such a great artist, really love the sound. I recommend y'all check it out. Okay Uk by the Jerry Cans. An Inuit band from Nunavut. This song is fantastic. It has such a great rhythm to it. The throat singing, the chorus like ensemble singing, and then also just the guitar underneath. Just create this really fun, energy-filled song the whole way through. I really, really recommend it. Check them out. I Wanna Be Your Lover by Prince. This was a Prince year for some reason. I don't know why, but I was listening to so many Prince songs, and specifically I Wanna Be Your Lover was just on repeat a bunch. Prince is great. I love Prince. 10 out of 10, recommend Prince. Mona Lisa by Dominic Fike.
Look, I can see your face in the Parisian paintings.
Heard it first in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse and just had it on repeat immediately after. Such a fun song, such a groovy song. It just like, And then watching Miles and Gwen swing across the city while you listen to it, it's just... And then finally, The Steps by Haim.
Every time I think that I've been taking the steps, you end up mad at me for making a mess. I can't understand, but
Haim is a band I discovered this year. My friend Kyle recommended them to me. They're so groovy, so fun. I just really liked that entire album. The Women in Music Part 3 is just a great album, but specifically The Steps was one of my favorite songs on that album that I just kept listening to on repeat. Honorable mentions include Waffle House by Jonas Brothers, Texas Sun by Leon Bridges, Sneakers by Nox, actually everything by Nox, the entire Inusik album by the Jerry Cans, the entire Women in Music Part 3 album by Haim, Yesterday by the Beatles, She's Always a Woman to Me by Billy Joel, and Me and Michael by MGMT. My 5 favorite books. Terry Pratchett's Guards. My dresser on Potter, Jen, a good friend of mine, recommended Terry Pratchett to me this past year, and I have just fallen in love with Terry Pratchett's Discworld series. Guards was my first book in the Discworld saga, and I really enjoyed it. It was high fantasy, it was funny, it was clever, it was great adventure. This is the first book in the Guards series of the Discworld sagas. Highly recommend. Very, very good. Pardalita by Joana Estrela. It's about a 16-year-old girl named Raquel living in small-town Portugal. It's a mix between a graphic novel and a collection of poems / journal entries that are just really, really great, telling this coming-of-age story. Really recommend. Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry. This is a recent read. I know it came out, I think, last year or the year before. I'm not really on TikTok. I didn't know TikTok was all over this book, but I see why. It was so cozy. It was so fun. A orc barbarian leaves her campaigning party to retire and open a gnomish coffee shop in a city that's never heard of coffee. It's just cozy, great vibes. Give it a go. The Golden Compass by Philip Pullman, the first book in the His Dark Materials series. I was a Chronicles of Narnia kid growing up, so I never read the Golden Compass series. Growing up in a very Christian household, reading the Chronicles of Narnia, coming to this as an adult is very interesting because I remember hearing about it as a kid as like, this is a book you should never read. And now as an adult, I'm reading it and it's just, it's quite, I like it a lot. I really like The Golden Compass. I'm making my way through the series. I'm on the last one now. I read A Subtle Knife. Now I'm on Amber Glass before I watched the Dark Materials TV show. And I see why my Lutheran pastor grandmother was not a big fan of Philip Pullman. But the storytelling's great. The world building's fun. in the first one. It kind of goes off. It gets a little more philosophical in the second book. Pullman's got a bit of a soapbox in the second book, but the first one is a lot of fun. Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert. This is a great one for creatives and artists and anyone who just has that struggle of what it means to create. Am I worthy? When is the right time? I need inspiration. All these things we think and say to ourselves about whether we are or aren't good enough, whether we can or can't create. Elizabeth Gilbert just has this really nice perspective on it. This was a recommendation from a friend. I picked it up and consumed it within days. Great read. Recommend as well. Some honorable mentions are The Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan, a favorite I had to read again. Scratch, Writer's Money and the Art of Making a Living, edited by Manuela Martin. The Art of Living by Grant Snyder. The Goodbye Cat by Hiro Arakawa. Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert T. Kiyosaki. And the Pokemon Adventures manga Ruby and Sapphire storyline. Top 5 TV shows of 2023 in no particular order. Oh man, Doctor Who's 60th anniversary specials were fantastic. It was so much fun hanging out with David Tennant and Catherine Tate again. Russell T Davies is back. I love his writing. I love that Who feels campy and fun. Also, Chirigawa in his Christmas special was fantastic. I loved it. I will say the Goblin part was really leaning into the campiness. I was here for it, but there was a moment where I was like, oh, okay. It was so much fun. I loved all 4 of the specials. I'm so excited for Churigatwa's first official season this coming year. I think it's going to be great. Arcane Season 1. Whoa, I checked out the first episode after years of being like, I'll get to it eventually, and it blew me away. I obsessively binged the whole first season in like 2 or 3 days. It was so good. The storytelling, the pacing, the animation as well. I've never been a League of Legends player, so I thought about maybe getting into it after watching the show, but it's okay. I'll just watch my friend Kara stream it. I don't need to play it. Old enough, just a bunch of episodes on Netflix. It's a Japanese television show that's been running since like the early 90s, all about like preschoolers and toddlers and little kindergartners going out and running errands for the first time because they're old enough. It's just really sweet and fun, and it's really cute watching these kids do things from like bring fish to grandma to like bring their brother's lunch to school or like help their mom with groceries. It's really, really cute and sweet. The Last of Us Season 1 was fantastic. There were so many new things they added to the show that weren't in the video games that just enriched the characters so much more, and also was really fun to expand on the universe and stories previously established by the games. Coincidentally, was gifted the first season on DVD, whatever you call it these days, by my brother. I didn't realize you could buy this physically, but I'm really glad I have it now because I don't actually have Crave. I was borrowing it from my old roommate. And finally, Futurama, specifically seasons 1 through 4. That's how much I got through this past year. Futurama is a show that I've loved ever since I was a teenager. I think it's fantastic. I think it's witty. I think it's goofy. I think it's dumb. I think it's really sweet and charming at times with a great cast of characters. I know the new season came out this past year. I never actually got around to watching it because I told myself I was going to watch from the beginning and then get to the new season. It's a lot of episodes to watch. I only got through seasons 1 through 4, loved all of it, and then just got caught up doing other stuff. But Futurama is a classic that I always recommend. Honorable mentions also include Wednesday Season 1, World's Most Amazing Vacation Rental Season 1 and 2, and Heartstopper Season 2. My top 5 animes of the year in no particular order. Attack on Titan, the final season, was mind-blowing. It was so cool. I did not expect the series to go anywhere that it did. I wasn't like an OG Attack on Titan fan. I started watching in recent years with my friends Sam and Chandler, and that last episode, especially watching the end credits, just had my mind boggled and spinning stories of what it all meant. I will say, having to wait as long as we did for the final few episodes and the way they constantly stretched out the last bit of that story arc into like 3 million extra seasons wasn't my favorite, but when we got it, I liked it. Oshinoko was, oh wow, it was just so good. I really, really liked it. Specifically the pilot episode, which is essentially its own like feature-length movie. My friend Kara recommended it to me. We watched it together, the pilot episode, and then I binged the series immediately afterwards. It's about 2 kids growing up in like idol culture and celebrity culture in Japan. Their mom was a former famous celebrity and it just does a lot of really cool things with like celebrity culture, social media culture, but also parasocial relationships. Really, really cool. Demon Slayer Swordsmith Village arc was fantastic. I loved it. The animation just keeps getting better and better every season. I really like Demon Slayer. I think it's a really fun story. I love Tanjiro as a character. I've actually just started reading the Demon Slayer manga while waiting for the next season of the anime to come out, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. The OG Beyblade anime from like the 2000s is free on YouTube, and I binged it this year. There was just something really comforting about watching this anime from my childhood that I loved. It got really weird in the last bit of the original series, which I never remembered as a kid. Because as a kid, I had a VHS that had the story arc where the Blade Breakers go to America to face off against the American All-Star Beyblade team, and I would just watch that on loop and repeat, occasionally getting filler episodes from before or after that story arc from Blockbuster. I never saw the series finale. That story arc was weird, but if we cut off that part and just watch the part that I loved as a kid, chef kiss. Shangri-La Frontier is an anime that is still going on. It has not completed. They're still airing episodes now into 2024. My friend Michael recommended it to me, and I am loving it. It is so much fun, so cool. I feel like it's the parts of Sword Art Online that I loved when I watched it for the first time, without all the really bad writing and weird harem stuff. Video games, anime, VR, goofy fun characters, wild immersive worlds. It's all there. Shangri-La Frontier, I recommend. Top 5 video games in no particular order. Minecraft, I've had a real hankering for it this past year. 2023 was the year in which I became obsessed with Minecraft again. Minecraft YouTubers, Minecraft streamers, playing it on Switch, PC, console. I was playing and watching so much Minecraft content. It was scratching an itch that I needed. When I told my buddy Nadell, he was like, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "Don't worry about it." I got a PS5 this year, and the game that comes installed in all PS5s is Astro's Playroom, and it was so much fun. I know it's just like a playtest game. It's just a game to get you familiar with the controls and how this console works, but I really liked it. It was very sweet. It was a lot of fun. I platinumed it, and it made me want to play PlayStation games. It's such a sweet game with so many nods and Easter eggs to other PlayStation IPs that I just had a lot of fun. Spider-Man Miles Morales. This game was so fun. I bought this game at launch years ago and held on to it, waiting for the day that I would get a PS5 to play it, and that day came this year, and it was so much fun. I had a great time. I really wish it was a full game. Like, this game is like half the game of what the first Spider-Man and the sequel Spider-Man were when it comes to like content and story length wise. It felt like at points the story was rushing its way along just because it felt like there was a time constraint on how much time it could take up. I wish they'd given Miles more time. I wish they'd given Miles a richer, deeper, fuller story because I think there was the room for it. And the gameplay was so much fun and he's such a great character that it would have worked. Spider-Man 2. Oh my god, this game was crazy. This is my game of the year. I love Baldur's Gate. Honorable mention of Baldur's Gate. But Spider-Man 2 is so much fun. Everything I wanted. It was a great year to be a Spider-Man fan. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. It's a great year to love Spider-Man. I love this. Go play it. I'm not going to say anything other than that. Other than the story was crazy. The gameplay was fantastic. Miles was great. Peter, I wish, was a bit closer to what he was in the first game, but still very, very fun. And Moonlighter. Moonlighter is an indie game. It was my travel game when I played on Switch anytime I was going somewhere. It's like a dungeon crawler and a roguelike, and every time you die, you like leave the dungeon, have to go back to it, or you exit the dungeon. Every time you enter the dungeon, you're back at level 1. Well, at the same time of being a roguelike dungeon crawler, it is also like a merchant mechanic game where you run your own shop where you sell the things you find in the dungeon. It's just really fun. The music is fantastic. The art style is great, and I really enjoy it. It's both cozy and roguelike at the same time. It's really great. I think it's a perfect game for anyone who likes cozy but wants to try something more, and anyone who wants to explore cozy games, but they find many of them are a little too slow for them. I think this is a great middle ground game to merge those two kind of gamers into one. Honorable mentions go to Mario Kart 8 DLC, Animal Crossing New Horizons, because I am still playing it, Baldur's Gate 3, and Wizard of Legend. Top 10 movies of 2023 in no particular order. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. It was a great year to be a Spider-Man fan. This was such a good movie. I saw it like twice, if not 3 times in theaters. It was so much fun. I loved the animation. I loved seeing all the different Spider people. I loved the story. Oh, I cannot wait for the final movie in this trilogy. The Ultimate Spider-Man universe in the comics is my favorite, like, Marvel storyline for Spider-Man. So while I was heartbroken when Peter died and Miles was brought into the Ultimate Universe, I was on board and I did love Miles and I was reading his comics from the very beginning. And seeing what this team has done at Sony Animation Picture Studios with Miles' story on the big screen, I think they're doing a great interpretation and exploration of this character. It's so much fun. Solo was a film I saw at the Toronto International Film Festival this summer from a Canadian Quebecois filmmaker. It was beautiful. I really, really loved it. It is the story of a young drag queen falling in love in and out with others and themselves, and it was just, I walked away feeling so many different things, but seen and loved and just intensely uncomfortable. It was really, really good. I recommend it. Whisper of the Heart, a Studio Ghibli film. I was on a Studio Ghibli craze this year. I tried to watch all the movies that I could before Miyazaki's Boy and the Heron came out this past December. While Boy and the Heron was a great movie as well, I think of all the Ghibli movies I watched this year, Whisper of the Heart was my favorite. It was my first time ever watching it, and it was just very sweet. It was just such an identifiable experience watching this girl discover art, discover love, discover story, discover companionship, all in this coming of age story. It was really sweet and I loved it. I'm never gonna think of Country Roads the same way again. The Passing was a short film that I also saw at the Toronto International Film Festival this past year. It was, wow, it was really good. It was another film that I loved and remembered so much because of how much I identified with it and how much it connected with me on a deep personal level. The Passing follows a veterinarian who is going around to the local community checking up on pets, both young and old, ending with the passing of someone's dog. In 2020, my childhood dog passed away, and I didn't get to be there during those final few days, let alone final few months, because of limitations and restrictions and because of all that was going on in the world at that time. So there's always been a part of me that feels like I never really got to say goodbye. And there's just something very healing about watching this film, seeing this person say goodbye, and the process of them mourning both in the moment and I'm sure many months and years after. I also got to be there for a talk back with the film's director and the veterinarian, and it was a very healing experience for me. And I went up to the director afterwards and I just had to thank her because it was beautiful, and it will always sit with me as one of my favorite movies because of what it meant to me personally. And finally, Everything Everywhere All at Once was a phenomenal film. While it was a 2022 release, I saw it at the beginning of 2023, very fortunately in theaters. This was a film that I was adamant about trying to see in theaters, so when I missed it the first time around, I crossed my fingers and waited, hoping that it would be brought back to theaters during nomination season, and it was, and I was so grateful for that because it was a fantastic film that I wouldn't have wanted to see any other way than in theaters for the first time. It was really, really fun. I had a great time, and because I got to see the special rescreening that happened afterwards for award season, there were some extra bonus, like, behind the scenes clips as well. It was a great time. It was such a great movie. Loved it so much. So weird and wacky. Honorable mentions include I Like Movies, The Sea Beast, From Up on Poppy Hill, Grave of the Fireflies, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem, How to Train Your Dragon, My Neighbors the Yamadas, and Arthur Christmas. Honestly, one of the best Christmas movies ever. Those are just some of my favorites, some of the many things that I consumed in the last year. I'm excited for all the things that 2024 is going to bring and all the things that I'm going to read, watch, and listen to in 2024. Let me know down below some of your favorite things from this past year. Maybe we shared a few. I hope the start of your 2024 is fantastic, and I'll see you in the next video real soon.